And I think we're going. So good morning, everybody. My name is Karen, and I am part of the program team at the Estes Valley Library. And I have Hannah Knox from the Estes Park School District here to talk to us today about some self-care tips and building a routine. So Hannah, if you want to introduce yourself and have at it, go for it.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Karen, for having me. Thank you guys for watching. So today I'm going to talk about routines as self-care. My name is Hannah Knox. I'm the mental health clinician for Estes Park School District. That means I work with students and families. I do referrals, case management, individual and group counseling. And now I'm doing all that from home. And part of making these videos is trying to be helpful and of service to our students, families, and just community at large. So routine is a big part of self-care. What is a routine? The dictionary describes it as a sequence of actions regularly followed, a fixed program. Basically, that means how we set our schedules, how do we build self-care into those schedules, how do we do life. You can also think of a routine as a practice of boundary setting. So basically, how we set our own boundaries and practice the routine. There's a lot of little boundaries that we practice within a routine. So the routine's kind of the umbrella, and our boundaries fall into that as little practices every day. Why are routines helpful? I know that's been a big buzzword during this time of self-quarantine, social distancing, COVID-19, but routines are helpful, and they've been helpful before all this happened too. So it helps us set expectations, which help us feel safe. That's especially important for children, keeping their routine up. If children know what to expect, it helps them feel more comfortable. They know what the big people, adults, expect from them during the day. But really, us adults, we're just kids trapped in big bodies. And so as an adult, it helps us feel safe and comfortable too, to know what to expect from our day. Especially during times where there's a lot of change, a lot of instability. Having a routine can help us create some safety for ourselves when ultimately there's a lot outside of our control nowadays. Certain studies have shown that routines can help you be more organized, productive, or even find more meaning. That's a great thing to do, especially now. It also helps with successful parenting skills, and routine has even been linked to marital satisfaction. Remember that this whole time, this change of that COVID-19 is bringing about is temporary. I think this might go on longer than all of us would like, but it will end at some point, and we will go back into a new normal, but more into what our lives looked like before all of this happened. So helping to maintain a routine, helping our children to maintain a routine during this time will make the transition back into our normal or into our new normal an easier transition for all of us. So think of it as like this is a temporary space, this is a temporary problem, but as much as we can help simulate what normal was before this, what it'll be after this, it'll help all of us transition back, but especially the kiddos. How do I build a routine? Great question. So one thing to build into your routine is choice. So give yourself and your kids options. Choice makes us more likely to engage in an activity. So don't be totally strict, like this is the one thing you can do at this time, this is the one thing you can do here. Especially with kids, like say, hey, for chores you can do this or that. What would you like to choose? This or that option, it makes it easier than, well, I don't want to do that, so I won't do anything. Well, if you don't want to do that, you can do this too. For adults too, that can help us as well. For example, maybe with exercise, just putting in 30 minutes of exercise, but not necessarily dictating, I have to do this one thing every day. If you wake up and don't feel like it, or there's something in your body telling you that's not right for you, do something else that's still movement, but don't limit yourself to just one thing. Consistency is the second step. So being consistent in your schedule, make it doable every day. Don't set like incredibly high expectations of yourself to go from, well, I'm here now, I'm going to go up here. Go to the next level. When we have a routine, we know what to expect. And like I said before, this helps us feel safe and secure. So do something that you can do every single day. Make it doable. Schedule in your self-care. Be sure to put self-care on your routine schedule. Fill your cup so you can fill others. I know that feels particularly selfish for a lot of people, especially during times when there's a lot of folks who are really encountering difficult things because of the world and where we're at. So it feels selfish to schedule like, well, I need 30 minutes of exercise, or I just need some quiet time in the morning without the kids around, or I would love to do this yoga class tonight. Put those things in your schedule just like you would have before COVID. Build it in and then do them, because I tell the kids a lot, imagine all of us as little cups, like little ceramic cups, and a lot of people are natural helpers, especially parents, especially caregivers. So you run around trying to fill everyone else's cup with water, but eventually yours will be empty. And then who's going to fill your water up for you? Especially if you are experiencing like trauma or mental health issues, like job insecurity right now, financial difficulties. Pardon the dogs barking in the background. Make sure you take the time to fix those chips or cracks in your cup before you can go and fill others. So building in that self-care is so, so important. And also, once you have this routine, like, oh, I'm going to do my exercise and journal, then I'll do my work emails, these different things, communicate it. So talk to your spouse or partner about it. Tell your family, put it on a whiteboard, put it on the calendar. I especially recommend writing it down to hold yourself accountable and also others in your family. You could make yourself a routine, you can make a family routine, but share it, communicate it. We can't set these silent expectations in our head and then get upset when no one else follows them if we haven't shared it. So one thing I would like to share with you all is an example of what that looks like. And here is a sample schedule. So this is a PDF document that we can share with you if you email Karen or myself, and you can edit it here. This is also something that you can just choose and define as yourself. But this is great, especially if you have kiddos around, just breaking up the day, and you can see self-care is built in, eating is built in. I know it's important to like schedule snacks for sure. Outside time is important, so be sure to connect with nature during this time. And then some chill time. I like how there's nothing after dinner. Usually I don't work after dinner, or my mind is just done for the day, so having some downtime. And be sure, especially with kids and also with work, because a lot of us are working from home, to set work hours and try to honor those so others can know what to expect from you, but also so you aren't working constantly. I know myself, I'm feeling the pull to be like, oh, well, I'll just check my email. I'll check my email now. But kind of try to stay within your business hours and also communicate that as well. So this is just a little sample. All right. So I did mention boundary setting. So remember that routines are basically a schedule of boundaries. What your boundaries are and how you practice them equals your routine. So what are boundaries? Boundaries are basically what is okay and what is not okay for yourself as an individual. How do you set a boundary? Check in. How are you feeling? And that's hard for a lot of us, especially maybe when we're experiencing more negative emotions. We like to suppress that. It's hard to sit with discomfort or anxiety or sadness or fear. But check in and see how you're doing. What are those boundaries like? Quiet your mind, tune into your body. You can do that through breathing, meditation, exercise. going out, taking a walk, whatever works for you. We're all different. So what works for you might be different than what works for someone else. But when you check in, what's coming up for you? Um, Discomfort and resentment are two common feelings that come up when we're not honoring our boundaries. So these can be red flags that it's time to reevaluate the situation and set some boundaries. So are you feeling a lot of like anger towards someone? Gosh, I can't believe they did this and didn't do this when I did this. Like I was helpful to them and they didn't reciprocate. That might be a boundary coming up that you need to set with that person or with yourself. Or I'm just so sick of so and so and how they always do this and that. Um, that's a red flag. Or let's leave space for some good stuff. Do things feel really good? That's awesome. Keep doing what you're doing, and honor yourself and give yourself a little pat on the back for creating and maintaining some boundaries. Um, Give yourself permission to set a boundary. Daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves, even when we risk disappointing others. Um, Having the courage to draw some space around yourself, like, this is what I need for self care. This is what I need from this relationship. This is what I need from my work, is important. And it's hard because I think we're often taught to not do that, to give of yourself, to work all these hours, to do all these things for your kids instead of drawing some simple boundaries. So ultimately, we can give more to others if our cups are full ourselves. And again, communicate those, like, be direct, be clear. What do you need to feel okay? And who do you need to communicate that to? Is it your partner? Is it your boss? Is it your kids maybe? Teach your kids how to communicate. What a great skill to have if your kids are really able to communicate their own boundaries and be in touch with themselves as they grow into adults. How cool. Example, adding a why makes it easier for others to understand what your boundary is and why you're setting it. So like, I need 20 minutes in the morning just to myself because it will help me feel grounded and be my best self for the day. Instead of just like, I need you to be quiet for 20 minutes. It's easier to hear if you add a why. And then reevaluate these. Things change day by day, especially in our world right now. So your boundaries will too. So keep checking in with yourself. So that's boundaries, how to create them, how to create a routine based on those boundaries. But also, if you're checking in with yourself, with your family, like, is the schedule working for our family? Are these boundaries working for our family? Make sure to reevaluate those. And there's a time to break a routine. Checking in will help you know when you fall into a rut of like, "Oh, this is feeling so boring," or like, this just isn't working. Like, I'm feeling resentful of having to get up at this time, or like having to do this during this time, or like whatever it is. Check in. If this happens, what are some new things you can try? Trying out new things help us to grow our brains. Even as adults, when our brains technically aren't developing anymore, it stretches them in different ways. It helps stretch our comfort zone. There is great research about like the zone of proximal discomfort and how that helps us be at our best self. And it also is good to like enjoy new experiences. So how do you break a routine? Well, like, well, try something new or celebrate like holidays. Easter's coming up. There's some different spring holidays. Make those a big deal, even though it's gonna look different this year than maybe what we're typically used to. There could be an opportunity for some new celebrations, new ways to celebrate, or new family traditions. And again, celebration is a physical manifestation of gratitude. So we all, even in this tough situation, do have a lot to be grateful for every single day. And celebrating that, adding some levity, some joy into life is okay. For families, like, maybe try something out of the ordinary, do a family dinner party. Everyone dresses up really nice. You break out the fancy chinaware, make something fancy or special to eat, and do a family dinner party. I hear a lot of people doing karaoke virtually. You can do that as a family too. Just look up some karaoke tracks on YouTube and sing along. Bonus points if you have a karaoke machine too. Um, Virtual hangouts are very popular, so you can do virtual Zoom meetings with your friends. You can do virtual watch parties on Netflix where you watch the same thing with someone else. Um, Try something new. I think we're being forced into a lot of new things, but it will help us keep those same relationships and stay safe too. So set a routine, check in on those boundaries, and also know it's okay to break it every once in a while and try something new. So that's kind of my spiel on routines as self-care. I just want to thank you guys for watching. And Karen, any questions?
I don't have any questions, Hannah. I took some notes though, and I really liked how you ended the program with uh, the celebrate piece. My dad turns 80 next week, and I had thought about, this is several months ago, flying home and, surprising him and things like that. Obviously, that's off the table now, but I have been practicing FaceTiming with them, and my mom is so excited. She has a meal planned. She's going to make a cake from scratch because they're not going out to the grocery stores. And then my sister in Salt Lake City and myself and my husband, we're all just going to sit in front of the computer and have a nice meal together. And so something I never would have thought my 80-year-old dad would ever have to experience, but also he enjoys it. He wants family time in some way, shape, or form. So, and then you said this last weekend, I did a Zoom happy hour with some friends that I haven't been able to see for a few weeks, and I see them regularly. So it was really nice to have that piece of it. And I would also agree with you in the setting the boundaries and setting my own personal expectations, and that I turn off my work computer at 5:05 or 5:10 or whatever it is, and it's off for the rest of the night because I need just a physical break. It sits in my kitchen away from me, and then I can sit and visit, or I can go outside and play with the dogs and stuff like that. So I really appreciate all the things that you have shared with us today. And if anyone, like she said, if anyone has any questions, I can share your email address, Hannah. Is that okay?
Yes, please do.
Okay, so we'll share those in the comment section. If you have any specific asks or questions, I know that Hannah's connected to the mental health world in our community. So if you have any specific questions about getting in touch with your clinician or something like that, I'm sure she can help, which is out of my purview of life right now. So, all right, with that, I will end this recording for us.